Hi, I'm Gary White with Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television, and I'm talking with State Senator Jimmy Higdon. And Jimmy's actually in Frankfurt right now, and we are practicing our social distancing by being much more than 10 feet away from or 6 feet away from each other, aren't we?
About try 60 miles, Gary.
There you go.
You're using new technology today. I've never done anything by Zoom, but I've heard a lot of people using that app. So here we are. You're high tech.
That's right. So we're doing our interview via Zoom because you are in the middle of the session still going on. And of course, we have that going on that we're going to talk a little bit about, but also we have this whole COVID-19 and coronavirus situation that's going on. So tell us, how is that impacting the session in Frankfurt?
Well, the biggest impact, I guess, Gary, number one is that most constituents, they can still contact us by, email, phone, Facebook, just letters, and watching on KET to keep up with what's going on. That's probably the biggest thing, is that the halls are empty. And the other thing is we're operating on a very limited number of staff members. So that makes a big difference also. But, it's we're doing the best we can through this issue. And our number one, I guess, thing that we're required by the Constitution is to pass a biennial budget. And so, we've been working on that. We started out with, it was somewhat optimistic. We had some additional revenue to spend. We were going to be able to reverse, since 2008, every budget seemed like has been, cut. So this was going to be the first budget since those cuts all started with the 2008 budget, that we were going to we had additional revenue to spend, and we'd be able to start funding additional programs and funding and restoring some of the funding that other programs had lost, and increasing the SEEK formula for schools, and given, even though they were very small, but small pay raises. And so when this all struck, here recently, we had to step back, and when the governor gave the order to all non-essential businesses to be closed and to stay safe at home and practice our social distancing, our economy has taken a huge hit. There are a lot of people still working, but there's also a lot of businesses and a lot of employees that are idle right now. So our revenues have taken a big hit on the state level. And so we've had to kind of take a step back and look at our budget. It's really hard to predict what this corona outbreak will do to our budget. But, the experts have looked, and it's difficult for them to make a projection also. So we're taking some very pessimistic, projections of what our revenue will be for next year, and we're crafting a budget from that, and basically we're taking the budget that we're currently in and basically using that budget next year with cuts here and there to try to get to where we think our revenues will be. It won't be perfect. There's no way we can project what our revenues will be. So we will be back, this time next year. We're only going to do a 1-year budget, Gary, instead of a biennial budget, which covers 2 years. So we're just going to do a 1-year budget that will run from July the 1st this year to June the 30th of next year. So this time next year, we'll be back in a budget session again, looking at the budget. And at that time, we should have some idea of where our economy is going and what type of revenue that the state will generate, and how to craft a budget that reflects those revenues.
So it will just be a 1-year budget at present.
that we will vote out of the House and the Senate today. We will pass a 1-year budget today, and like I said, it's a no frills budget. It's like I said, it pretty much takes the spending from the previous year, the previous budget, previous biennial budget, the one we're currently in now, and it makes some cuts here and there on that to kind of at least get us started
Right.
into this year to get past all this. We're hopefully June or July or sooner, this will all be in the rearview mirror and we can get back to something called normal.
Absolutely. Are there any measures that are being included in the budget for addressing the current virus situation or the unemployment situation or anything of that nature?
Most of that's been taken care of. The lion's share of that area has been taken care of on the federal level with federal legislation that just passed. They have extended. They've extended. Our state unemployment. The federal legislation, and we backed it up with state legislation too. But the federal legislation in Kentucky, if you're laid off, your first week of unemployment benefits, you can't draw for the first week. You still draw 26 weeks, but you get that first week on the back end instead of the front end. So anybody that's laid off does not get a check the first week that they're laid off. So under the federal legislation, they're providing the state funding for us to pay for that first week. Also, there's a lot of qualifications for unemployment. Part-time employees under Kentucky unemployment laws cannot draw unemployment. Under the federal legislation package that was passed, part-time employees that are laid off can draw unemployment. Also, there was restrictions in there that if you hadn't qualified for unemployment, you couldn't draw unemployment, and qualifying you had to work in 3 quarters. That language was there also, that if somebody had just worked a couple months, they would still be entitled to state unemployment. And so a lot of changes made there based on the federal legislation that the federal government is going to supplement Kentucky's reserve fund to help us pay all those unemployment benefits. And also, Gary, something that's never been done, those that work as sole proprietors or they work for a 1099 every year where they're paid, they don't have taxes deducted from their check, or they just file a income tax at the end of the year, and they don't report their, like a barber or a hairdresser would just report their profits at the end of the year. They don't actually have a salary per se. Those individuals, for the first time ever, will be eligible for some unemployment benefits. So that's something new. And right now, I encourage everybody that if you just Google Kentucky unemployment, there's the phone numbers are there, and how to do it is all online. And a person can apply for Kentucky unemployment benefits. I ask them to be patient. The demand for those, the system is overloaded. I know the governor and his staff are adding new employees every day to handle the increased demand for unemployment benefits. So we are working on that in the governor's office. The governor's done a great job working through this crisis. So everybody's trying to adjust and do the best they can under the current situation. So I just ask everybody to be very patient with the unemployment sign up. It is frustrating at times. Also ask them to be compassionate and patient when they go out to shop. Those retail clerks have certainly had a tough time the last few weeks trying to take care of us, and so just be sure to be nice to them, because they've certainly had a stressful 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Have you been hearing from your constituents much about
it's yes. almost 24/7, Gary. I've answered a lot of questions. I've had a lot of comments and a lot of, some confusion and from time to time of what businesses can be open and what businesses can't be open. So I've answered a lot of questions like that. I've helped a lot of people that have, issues with unemployment. I get a lot of Facebook messages. That is a good way to contact me. They can call me at home at 270-692-6945. And like I said, they can contact me through Facebook Messenger is a good way to contact me. My email address is jimmy.higdon@lrc.ky.gov. Those addresses are all available. Just Google Jimmy Higdon, and you should be able to find my email address and home phone number. That should not be difficult to find. So I encourage people, if they're having an issue, to contact me. I don't have the answers, but I know who does, and I'll direct them to those folks that can help.
Okay. So as we said, this session is going on currently, and it's a long session, right? This is because every other year it's a long session because it is a budget session.
This is our 60-day session, Gary. We started in here the first Tuesday after the first Monday. I think that was January the 6th. I wouldn't swear to that. It seems like a lifetime ago. Today is April Fool's Day, April 1st. After we complete today, we will pass the budget today, and our plans are we have several budgets. We have a transportation budget, we have a judicial branch judge budget, we have an LRC budget, and then we have the executive budget. So we have several budgets to pass. Our plans are to pass those budgets and leave, and we will be back if things work out that this virus is behind us and is safe to do so. We will be back here the 14th and 15th of April to finish up. The Constitution allows us time to come back. If the governor vetoes anything in the budget, we'd have an opportunity to come back here and override those vetoes.
Okay. And that would be the wrapping up of the session at that point.
That would be the Constitution says that we have to be out of here. We have to be completely finished by midnight, April the 15th. That is a etched in stone in the Constitution.
Okay. So prior to the outbreak and everything going on, there was a long period of lawmaking going on, correct? So can you encapsulate for us some of the issues that you addressed at that point?
The issues, there was probably Gary, 1,000 bills filed. And most legislation was legislation that was brought to legislators by their constituents. A lot of the cabinets here in Frankfort bring legislation to legislators that need to be bills filed and passed. So when the dust settles, when we go home, there'll probably be less than 100 bills out of that 1,000 that actually pass. I passed a few bills that were good bills, I think, and one of them was a virtual high school bill that allows dropouts. Instead of everyone that drop out of high school have to complete a GED, now you can go back through your local high school and use their virtual high school and go back and complete your high school diploma if you finished your freshman and sophomore year, which is they never had to be on campus. They can do it virtually. They can do it from home, but a high school diploma is always better than a GED. So that's a good thing. And also we had there's a SMA bill that we passed, the spinal muscular atrophy, that baby was born in Marion County a couple of years ago. It's very rare, and Eli Wheatley, and was born in. This disease is SMA. If it's called at childbirth, it can be treated. But currently Kentucky scans or tests a newborn baby for 59 different diseases, and we can only do those tests, those 59 tests. That screening, we can only do 59, and we can only do diseases that are curable. And so SMA, up until recently, there was not a cure for it. There is a cure now, so we added SMA to the screening process. So now a child born in Kentucky will be screened for 60 different childhood diseases. So that was a good thing. And there's others, but that's two that I can think of right off the top of my head. But we passed numerous pieces of legislation, and I would have to, I want to get, I guess, sit down with the and take a few minutes to gather all those up, Gary. Maybe that'd be a good when we finish up on the 14th and 15th. That would be a good program to do. We could talk about all the legislation that was passed, and like I said, right off the top of my head today, I can't
Right.
I can't give you all those.
Right now, the situation with the coronavirus is kind of taking precedent over everything, which needs to be addressed for the entire nation, entire world, actually.
Right. And I have a meeting here at 11 o'clock. We're going to work on the transportation budget. That's in committee at 11. So I'm going to rush off here, Gary, and go do that. But today is primarily centered around passing all of our budgets and getting out of Frankfort and getting back home. And like I said, I'll be available via telephone, Facebook Messenger, to help constituents with issues that they face concerning all the complications that COVID-19 has caused.
Absolutely. And so we'll let you go so you can get that done. So hopefully all of the legislators can get home and be safe and not interact with everyone else and continue our social distancing. But thank you very much. Again, I've been talking with State Senator Jimmy Higdon for an update on what's been going on in Frankfort. Thank you.
And Gary, just remind everybody, social distancing, wash your hands, and, just be careful out there. There's a lot of good information on the internet that, there's information about, protocol when you come home from being out in the real world during the day to, take those clothes off, take your shoes off at the door, take those clothes off and get them either into a plastic bag or the washer. Just all kinds of little tips to keep us safe and try to beat this pesky little virus called Corona. It's been, in our lifetime, Gary, we've never seen anything quite like this.
Absolutely. Well, stay well, and we will talk with you soon, hopefully.
Well, Gary, High Tech Gary, we thank you, and thank Channel 6 for coming to me today and allowing me to be on there.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right. This has been Gary White for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television.